I do need to tell you before we start playing the game, I do got something to talk about. So let me tell you, bro. So like I made a TikTok a couple days ago while I was like, I was like, what's happening, Jigen? What's up, man? But yeah, I made a TikTok a couple days ago where I was like, cause I was like, I watched Jujutsu Kaisen, Gojo little shit, his little infinity shit, right? And I was thinking to myself, I was like, what is infinity? Like, what really is infinity? I was like, I don't think the human mind can really like process what infinity is. So we just say it's unlimited. And under that TikTok, somebody had commented. He told me about a video. He said this dude did a real good job at explaining this. I was like, I might as well open up my stream, watch that video before I play The Walking Dead.
Vsauce, Michael here. There's a famous way to seemingly create chocolate.
I've been looking to the game's later episodes, and it is really good. Episode 1 is just a cherry on this ice cream bet.
But if you cut it like this, and then like this, and finally like this, you can rearrange the pieces like so, and wind up with the same 4x8 bar. But
nah, that's kind of crazy. Like how that work right there.
There's a popular animation of this illusion as well. I call it an illusion because it's just that.
Like that's math right there.
Reality,
Like that's
the
math
bar is a
or
bit
some shit
smaller.
like that.
It contains this much less chocolate. Each square along the cut is shorter than it was in the original, but the cut makes it difficult to notice right away. The animation is extra misleading because it tries to cover up its deception. The lost height of each square is surreptitiously added in, while the piece moves to make it hard to notice. I mean, come on. Obviously, you cannot cut up a chocolate bar and rearrange the pieces into more than you started with. Or can you? One of the strangest
Or
theories
can
in modern
you?
mathematics is the Banach-Tarski paradox.
Banach-Tarski
It proves
paradox.
that there is in fact a way to take an object and separate it into 5 different pieces.
Right.
And then, with those 5 pieces,
But where you
simply
going with this though,
rearrange
gang?
them, no stretching required, into 2 exact copies of the original item. Same density, same size, same everything.
Wait, what the fuck?
Seriously, to dive into the mind blow that
Wait, what the fuck? Wait, what did he just do?
no stretching and then with those 5 pieces, simply rearrange them, no stretching required, into 2 exact copies of the original.
Wait, what the fuck? That's what I'm saying. How the hell that work? So he took $1, split it into 5 different pieces, and he made 2 whole dollar bills. Nah.
Same density, same size, same everything. Seriously, to dive into the mind blow that it is and the way it fundamentally questions math and ourselves, we have to start by asking a few questions. First, what is infinity?
Okay.
A number?
This is why we're here.
Nowhere on the number line, but we often say things like, there's an infinite number of
Witchcraft.
blah, blah.
Nah, for real though.
Infinity
Cause like, how
is
can you
infinite.
explain some shit
The
like
universe
that?
may be infinite in size and flat, extending out forever and ever without end, beyond even the part we can't
Boy,
observe
that's trippy.
or ever hope to observe. That's exactly what infinity is. Not a number per se, but rather a size. The size of something that doesn't end. Infinity is not the biggest number.
But
Instead,
if
it is how many numbers there are. But there are different sizes of infinity. The smallest type of infinity is countable infinity, the number of...
But if it's infinity and it doesn't exist, how can you count it? This is proof we're in a simulation.
Forever.
We in the
also
Matrix!
number of whole numbers that we are.
We in the
Naturally,
Matrix!
Numbers we use when counting things like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on.
That's not
Sets
infinity
like
though,
these
that's a
are
set
unlimited,
number.
But they are countable. Countable means that you can count them from one element
I took
to
the blue
any
pill
other
type
in
shit.
a finite
Type
amount
shit.
of time. Even if that finite amount of time is longer than you will live, or the universe will exist for, it's still finite. Uncountable infinity, on the other hand, is literally bigger. Too big to even count. The number of real numbers that there are, not just whole numbers, but all numbers,
I took
is
damn, you
uncountably
different.
infinite. You literally cannot count even from 0 to 1 in a finite amount of time by naming every real number in between. I mean, where do you even start? 0, okay, but what comes next? 0.000000. Eventually, we would imagine a 1 going somewhere at the end, but there is no end. We could always add another 0. Uncountability makes this set so much larger than the set of all whole numbers that even between 0 and 1, there are more numbers than there are whole numbers.
Okay, so who created math? I need to talk to that nigga. Because if you, like, how did all of this fit inside of his head? Like, cuz really a genius.
Endless number line. Derek Cantor's famous diagonal argument helps illustrate this. Imagine listing every number between 0 and 1. Since they are uncountable and can't be listed in order, let's imagine randomly generating them forever with no repeats. Each number we generate can be paired with a whole number. If there's a 1-to-1 correspondence between the two, that is, if we can match one whole number to each real number,
mathematics wasn't made by one person, but rather evolved gradually over millennia.
Sets are the same size. But we can't do that. Even though this list goes on forever. Forever isn't enough.
There's some smart ass people in this world.
Diagonally down our endless list of real numbers and take the first decimal of the first number and the second of the second number, the third of the third, and so on, and add 1 to each, subtracting 1 if it happens to be a 9, we can generate a new real number that is obviously between 0 and 1, but since we've defined it to be different from every number on our endless list in at least one place,
why he draw 8s like that?
In the list. In other words, we've used up every single whole number, the entire infinity of them, and yet we can still come up with more real numbers. Here's something that's true but counterintuitive.
See, this is why I failed math right here. This is the exact reason I failed math. They don't like that made no sense at all.
Clearly, there are only half as many even numbers as all whole numbers.
2 circles. Could draw the snowman to draw your 8.
But every even number can be matched with a whole number. You will never run out of numbers of either set, so this 1-to-1 correspondence shows that both sets are the same size.
Oh, this multiplication right there.
Infinity divided by 2 is still infinity. Infinity plus 1 is also infinity. A good illustration of this is Hilbert's paradox of the Grand Hotel. Imagine a hotel with a countably infinite number of rooms. But now, imagine that there is a person booked into every single room. Seemingly, it's fully booked, right? No. Infinite sets go against common sense. You see, if a new guest shows up and wants a room, all the hotel has to do is move the guest in room number 1 to room number 2, and the guest in room 2 to room 3, and 3 to 4, and 4 to 5, and so on. Because the number of rooms is never ending, we cannot run out of rooms. Infinity is also...
My brain do hurt too. But it's like, why we gotta put him in room 1? So wait, stay with me now. Okay, so if it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it was 5 people in each room, and then it was just infinite amount of rooms, right? But we had to slide everybody down. Why we couldn't just put him in the infinite room? But because the shit don't exist, so we had to put him in room 1. Does that make sense? I don't feel like I'm making sense.
Infinity again. If one guest leaves the hotel, we can shift every guest the other way. Guest 2 goes to room 1, 3 to 2, 4 to 3, and so on.
But then how does 6 move to infinite room?
That is a never-ending supply of them. No room will be left empty. As it turns out, you can subtract any finite number from infinity and still be left with infinity. It doesn't care. It's unending. Bonnet-Tarski hasn't left our sights yet. All of this is related. We are now ready to move on to shapes. Hilbert's hotel.
There's an infinite amount of shapes?
Points around the circumference can be...
Oh, like a circle. Oh, okay.
If we remove one point from the circle, that point is gone, right? Infinity tells us it doesn't matter. The circumference of a circle is irrational. It's the radius times 2 pi. So if we mark off points beginning from the hole, every radius length along the circumference going clockwise, we will never land on the same point twice. Ever. We can count off each point we mark with a whole number. So this set is never ending, but countable, just like guests in rooms in Hilbert's hotel. And like those guests, even though one has checked out, we can just shift the rest. Move them counterclockwise, and every room will be filled.
How we never land on the same point again?
Point
the
2
circle
fills
is
in place
only
where
so
point 1 used to be,
big.
3 fills in 2, and so on. Since we have an unending supply of
Bro,
number
it really
points,
is just a
no
loop.
hole will be
Like,
left unfilled. The
it
missing
just never
point
ended.
is forgotten. We apparently never needed it to be complete. There's one last neato consequence of infinity we should discuss before tackling Banach-Tarski. Ian Stewart famously proposed a brilliant dictionary, one that he called the Hyperwebster. The Hyperwebster lists every single possible word of any length formed from the 26 letters in the English alphabet. It begins with A, followed by AA, then AAA, then AAAA, and after an infinite number of those, AB, then ABA, then ABAA.
But if infinite is infinite, how do we start over at AB? Like, how do we get to AB? Shouldn't it just be A? Like, shouldn't it just be that?
ABAAA, and so on until Z, ZA, ZAA, etc., until the final entry, an infinite sequence of Z's. Such a dictionary would contain every single word, nay, every single thought, definition, description, truth, lie, name, story. What happened to Amelia Earhart would be in that dictionary, as well as every single thing that didn't happen to Amelia Earhart.
What do y'all think happened to Amelia Earhart? Y'all know the aviator, the female aviator that was going around the world.
Huge, but the company publishing it might realize that they could take a shortcut. If they put all the
Fun
words
fact
in
about
A
Clementine,
in a
the little
volume
girl Lee takes
titled
care
A,
of in the game, she
they
likes
would have to print
apples.
the initial A. Readers
That
would
is
know
a
to just
random
add the A
fact.
because it's the A volume. By removing the initial A, the publisher is left with every
How you
A
find
word
it out? Google?
sans the first A, which has surprisingly become every possible word. Just one of the 26 volumes has been decomposed into the entire thing. It is now that we're ready to investigate this video's titular paradox. What if we turned an object, a 3D thing, into a hyperwebster? Could we decompose pieces of it into the whole thing? Yes. The first thing we need to do is give every single point on the surface of the sphere one name and one name only. A good way to do this is to name them after how they can be reached by a given starting point. If we move this starting point across the surface of the sphere in steps that are just the right length, no matter how many times or in what direction we rotate, so long as we never backtrack, it will never wind up in the same place twice. We only need to rotate in 4 directions to achieve this paradox: up, down, left, and right, around 2 perpendicular axes.
Is that why cheat codes always be like left, up, down, right, left, left, right?
Can be made of any finite length out of just these 4 rotations. That means we will need left, right, up, and down, as well as left, 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 up, left, down, but of course not left, right, because, well, that's backtracking.
No, at one
Going
point in the
left
game, you
and
can give
then
her an
right
apple,
means you're the
so you
same
better
sequence
give her an
before
apple.
you
I got
leave.
you.
So no
I
left,
got
right,
you.
no right lefts, and no up downs, and no down ups. Also, notice that I'm writing the rotations in order right to left, so the final rotation is the leftmost letter. That will be important later on. Anyway, a list of all possible sequences of allowed rotations that are finite in length
UUDD
is,
LRLR
well,
BA
huge.
start.
Countably infinite, in fact. But if we apply each one of them to a starting point, in green here, and then name the point we land on after the sequence that brought us there, we can name a countably infinite set of points on the surface. Let's look at how, say, these 4 strings on our list would work. Right, up, left. Okay, rotating the starting point this way takes us here. Let's color code the point based on the final rotation in its string. In this case, it's left, and for that we will use purple. Next up, down, down. That sequence takes us here. We name the point DD and color it blue since we ended with a down rotation. RDR, that will be this point's name, takes us here, and for a final right rotation, let's use red. Finally, for a sequence that ends with up, let's color code
I'm so
the point
lost. Like, I'm
orange.
so lost
Now,
right
if we
now.
imagine completing this
Like, I don't know
process
what's going
every
on
single
at all,
sequence,
gang.
We will have a countably infinite number of points named and color coded. That's great, but not enough. There are an uncountably infinite number of points on a sphere's surface. But no worries, we can just pick a point we missed, any point, and color it green, making it a new starting point, and then run every sequence
I'm
from
too
here.
done for this. Just keep me
After
with
doing
my
this
maps.
to an uncountably infinite number of starting
Like, I don't
points,
get
we
it
will
at
have
all. Like,
indeed
I'm so
named and
lost.
colored every
See, this is
single
why I
point on
failed
the
math
surface
every
just
year.
once. With the exception of poles. Every sequence has 2 poles of rotation, locations on the sphere that come back to exactly where they started. For any sequence of right or left rotations, the poles are the north and south poles. The problem with poles like these is that more than one sequence can lead us to them. They can be named more than once, and be colored in more than one color. For example, if you follow some other sequence to the north or south pole, any subsequent rights or lefts will be equally valid names. In order to deal with this, we're going to just count them out of the normal scheme and color them all yellow. Every sequence has 2, so there are a countably infinite amount of them.
I'll stick with multiplication.
Now, with every point on the
I
sphere
can barely
given
do
just one
that.
name and just one of 6 colors, we are ready to take the entire sphere apart. Every
Okay,
point on the surface
okay,
corresponds
wait,
to a
wait,
unique
wait, wait,
line of
wait.
points below it, all the
Pause,
way to the
pause,
center point.
pause. Let's apply this to real life right now, bro. Let's apply this to real life. Okay. Let's take a real life scenario. Let's say I live in Pakistan, right? And I want to come to the United States. Based off what he just said, does that mean there's an infinite amount of ways for me to get to the United States? Because, you know, like, when you look up how to get to a certain location on your phone, like, you know, they give you, like, what, maybe, like, 4-5 routes to take. If there was a zombie outbreak, this generation can't read maps for crap. They are cooked. No, not gonna lie. I can't read a map either. Bro, it was this cartoon I used to watch called Regular Show. And Rigby, he was a raccoon. He was like, bro, we're like 2 feet away from it. He was looking at a map. That's how I look at a map. Like, I know how to read, like, the roadways and the signs. But, like, a paper map, I can't do it. I'm better off just driving until I, like,
along with it. The lone center
see
point
where I'm supposed to go. Like, on the road signs.
Okay, first we cut out and extract all the yellow poles. The green starting points, the orange up points, the blue down points, and the red and purple left and right points. That's the entire sphere. With just these pieces, you could build the whole thing. But take a look at the left piece. It is defined
There was a zombie
by being a
apocalypse.
piece
I just
composed of
died.
every
Ain't no video
accessed
games.
via a sequence ending with a left rotation.
Damn, you don't believe in yourself to survive at all?
That's the same as adding an R to every.
Not a lot of nigga like me.
But
I'm Rick Grimes. No cap. I'm Rick Grimes.
What happens when we reduce them away? The set becomes the same as a set of all points with names that end with L, but also U, D, and every point reached with no rotation. That's the full set of starting points. We have turned less than a quarter of the sphere into nearly 3/4 just by rotating it. We added nothing. It's like the hyperwebster. If we add the right piece and the poles of rotation in the center point, well, we've got the entire sphere again, but with stuff left over. To make a second copy, let's rotate the up piece down. The down ups cancel.
I'd burn everything down if I was in a zombie apocalypse with your
The
flamethrower.
entire up piece, the right piece, and the left piece. But there's a problem here. We don't need this extra set of starting points. We still haven't used the original ones. No worries. Let's just start over. We can just move everything from the up piece that turns into a starting point when rotated down. That means every point whose final rotation is up. Let's put them in the down piece. Of course, after rotating, points named UU will just turn into points named U.
Bro,
That will
what
give
the
us a
fuck
common
am I
key and-
watching?
So as it turns out, we need to move all points with any name that is just a string of U's. We will put them in the down piece and rotate the up piece down, which makes it congruent to the up, right, and left pieces. Add in the down piece along with some up and the starting point
Kobo
piece,
Fortnite.
and, well, we're almost done. The poles of
I remember I
rotation
used to be
and
in
center
love
are
with
missing
Fortnite,
from this
bruh.
copy, but no worries.
I used to
There's
be in
a
love with
totally infinite
Fortnite.
number of holes where the poles of rotation used to be, which means there is
That
some
whole
hole
chapter
around
one,
which we can
man,
rotate this
boy, you
sphere
couldn't
such
get me out that
every
game.
pole hole orbits around without hitting another.
This shit look like
This is
Jupiter.
just a bunch of circles with one point missing. We fill them each like we did earlier.
Okay,
We'll do the
okay,
same for the center
okay.
point.
That's
Now,
enough of this. This shit finna break my brain. This shit finna break my brain.